The banging started soft, at first barely enough to yank me from the edge of sleep after a brutal 12-hour shift. But then thud, thud, third, 3 deliberate knocks. Nothing good ever comes at this hour. My duplex was freezing. The heat had died hours earlier, and my breath fogged in the air. The winter storm outside howled like a wounded animal. When I turned on the porch light, I froze, because standing there was Dean, my nephew. His lips were purple, his shoes were soaked, his pajamas were plastered to his legs like wet paper, and slumped over his back was Hannah, 7 years old, barely breathing. Dean whispered through chattering teeth, "Aunt Willow, please, help." My training took over. I pulled Hannah into my arms. She weighed nothing, a feather, a ghost. Her skin was gray, her breathing shallow and ragged, each sucking gasp like air forced through a straw. Dean collapsed the moment I lifted her. He had walked, no trudged 1 full mile through a frozen forest to reach me. He had wrapped his coat around Hannah and taken a filthy garage rug for himself. That alone told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't children playing outside. This wasn't a mistake. This was neglect. Deadly neglect. I called 911 with a voice so cold and professional it barely sounded like my own. "This is Nurse Willow Hart. 2 pediatric emergencies. Suspected severe child neglect. Send police." While the operator spoke, I warmed Dean with blankets and hot milk. Set up a nebulizer for Hannah, and prayed I hadn't gotten them too late. When the ambulance lights flashed across my windows, Dean looked up at me with eyes that should never belong to an 11-year-old, eyes that had already seen too much. Andy whispered, "I'm sorry. Sorry, for surviving." In the ambulance, I held Dean's freezing hand while Hannah struggled for every breath. "Can you tell me what happened, sweetheart?" His voice was monotone, hollow. "Mom and Dad left at 5. Casino opening. They told us to order pizza. The smart lock engaged. We got stuck outside." He paused, "Then the dam broke. I tried the code. It didn't work. I called them. They didn't answer." Hannah couldn't breathe. "The garage got too cold. So, I walked. I walked here. Through the forest. I thought she was going to die." I squeezed his hand. "Dean, you saved her life." He didn't react, not because he didn't hear me. Because he didn't believe he deserved credit. He'd been raised to think everything was his fault. At the hospital, while Hannah fought in the ICU and Dean's frostbitten feet were treated in pediatrics, I gave a full statement to the police. At 9 a.m., the lobby doors burst open. My brother Joshua stormed in, wrinkled suit, smelling like old alcohol and guilt. Jane stumbled behind him in last night's gown, mascara smeared like war paint. "Where are my babies?" she screeched. Everyone stared. Joshua found me, straightened his jacket, and approached like a man ready to negotiate a business deal. "Willow," he whispered. "Thank God you were there. Look, this whole thing is a misunderstanding." I didn't respond. He tried again. "Your student loans. What are you at?" 60,000. 70. "I'll pay them. Today. Just tell police it was a mistake." I felt my jaw tighten. No amount of money could erase what he'd done. So I said the only word that mattered. "No." His face shifted, panic melting into rage. "You're making a mistake," he hissed. "I will crush you legally. I will take your nursing license. You think you can take my kids from me?" I stared him dead in the eye. "They're not your kids anymore," he snapped. His hand shot out, grabbing my arm hard enough to bruise. Before I could react, "Don't touch her." Dean stood up, on frostbitten feet, screaming, "You left us. You left us to die. And you don't even care." His voice cracked. Jane froze. Joshua turned pale. Security rushed in. Then, 5 minutes later, police arrived, and Officer Jasper did not hesitate. "Joshua Hart, you are under arrest for assault, child endangerment, and abandonment." Jane tried to run. They arrested her too. As they dragged them away, I held Dean's shaking hand, and in the smallest voice, he whispered, "Thank you." The next morning, Child Protective Services and Officer Jasper inspected my brother's mansion. The outside screamed luxury. The inside screamed crime scene. The fridge held moldy pizza, vodka, energy drinks, and nothing else. No food for children. Dean's bedroom was a mattress on the floor. No frame, no bedding, no toys, no warmth. Just a ring light Jane used for live streaming. They had thrown out his bed to make space for her vanity setup. Hannah's room, a toddler bed she was too big for, and a broken window latch letting in freezing air. The garage rug, the one Dean used as a blanket, was lying discarded near the door. Mr. Clint, the elderly neighbor, told CPS everything. How the kids were alone constantly. How Dean collected their empty beer and White Claw cans to cash in for food. How he and Hannah devoured Lunchables at the grocery store like they hadn't eaten properly in days. CPS closed their notebook and said the words I'd been praying for. We recommending immediate termination of parental custody. Back at my apartment, I made one more call. To the most feared family lawyer in the state, Attorney Vance, the man sharks fear. He took my case before I even finished explaining. Because once the hospital footage hit his desk, Joshua shoving me, the kid's condition, the police statements, Vance didn't see a custody battle. He saw a slam dunk victory. A career trophy. By noon, Joshua and Jane were hit with child endangerment, neglect, abandonment, assault, reckless endangerment, and a civil suit that would bleed them dry. Their bank accounts were frozen, their assets seized, their perfect life shattered, their mansion gone, their reputation in Riverside Heights burned to the ground, their children legally placed under my permanent guardianship. And when Joshua tried to scream in court that I ruined his life, I didn't say a word, because the judge responded for me. You did that yourself. Today, Hannah sleeps in a warm pink bedroom with a plush comforter and a little nightlight shaped like a moon. Dean has a real bed, a desk, and shelves full of books he picked himself. They're in therapy, they're healing, they're safe, and every night before bed, Dean checks the door lock, himself not out of fear anymore, but out of habit. Then he turns to me and asks, "Are we staying here forever?" And I kneel, look him in the eyes, and say, "Yes, forever." Because the day they arrived half frozen at my door, I didn't just save them, I chose them. And unlike their parents, I don't break what I'm trusted to protect.